Alrighty, what is going on? You are listening to TAGSPodcast, aka Talk About Gay Sex Podcast. This is episode 479. I am your host, Stevie, alongside my co-host, Jeremy Ross Lopez. How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Very good, very good on this pre-4th of July week. Joining us, of course, is Kodi, Maurice, Doggette. How the hell you doing, Kodi?
Hello, darling. I'm doing well. Looking forward to the holiday.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be in the air, of course, on 4th of July. So not my legs like I'd like them to be, but I will be flying over back to New York City and had a great visit, but happy to be back come this week. So yay. Oh my gosh, so much to talk about on this show. Let's just get into hot topics here. And we have to talk about the recent U.S. Supreme Court after it ruled on the LGBT plus discrimination case. And this was the one that allowed businesses the right to refuse to provide services for same-sex weddings. And if you recall, there was a woman in Colorado by the name of Lori Smith. She's an evangelical Christian web designer. Well, she challenged the state of Colorado's anti-discrimination law and used her religious beliefs as her reason. She said she believed that marriage was between a man and a woman, and she refused to provide any services for same-sex marriage. Well, a little backstory on this, she didn't have, I think she's barely going into business, and it wasn't like she had any same-sex couples come to her in the first place. So this was all fabricated and like a what-if situation that she challenged this law. So she really, as Jeremy likes to say, was extra on this and went out of her way. Well, she got it all the way to the Supreme Court. And you know that the conservative majority on the Supreme Court ruled 6-3 in favor of her, which was a huge blow to the community, of course. But this, like I said, it was a hypothetical scenario. Well, the recent turn of events that I love is Pedro Pascal, actor that we all know and love. They call him what do they call him, Kodi? The daddy?
Or your slutty daddy.
Slutty daddy, yeah. I love him. I'm such a huge fan of him. Jeremy, do you know who he is?
No.
Pedro Pascal, you got to look him up. He's super, super sexy. He could be my daddy any day. He has a trans sister and that he always stands up for and supports, which I think is really awesome. Okay, so he decided to clap back and posted really no words on his Instagram. What he did do, he's in the Mandalorian series right now. He weighed in on the issue by wordlessly sharing an image of the Supreme Court justices with pride and trans flags over those who voted in Lori Smith's favor. So if you look at the picture, I'll post it on TAGSPodcast.com. There's trans flags, there's LGBT flags on the ones that voted for this awful thing. And that's all he said. And that speaks volumes, I think. This is why we really love him. I mean, to be devil's advocate, we were discussing at a barbecue over the weekend saying that, you know, why would anybody want to go to somebody that is anti-LGBTQ anyway to do any of your graphic art to begin with, right? When there's probably a slew of other people you could go to. I think that's not really the point. The point is this could be a domino effect, what's to come, when you could take it to the Supreme Court and you could discriminate for Latino people, for example. I mean, the three of us are in that boat right now. And, you know, it could just set up, I mean, I don't know, Kodi, what are your thoughts on any of this, including Pedro?
Yeah, we should have saw this coming when they struck down the abortion rights and things of that nature. It's clear to me that the highest court in the land is no longer looking out for the best interests of the people and maintaining their impartiality, which is paramount to their office, but they're looking out for their own bigotry and racism and homophobia. It's kind of actually ridiculous. And I love that Pedro Pascal is standing up for us, and he's always been an ally. Actually, Michael Imperioli did the same thing, and he was in The Sopranos, and he's in White
Yes, I saw
Lotus.
his.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and he was saying that any bigots or homophobes, that he's going to deny them access to watching any of his stuff as well. So we just need more people to stand up, and hopefully we can do something about the Supreme Court, because they are getting out of pocket. It's just getting crazy right now.
Jeremy, do you think that Lori Smith should be really Karen Smith? I mean, what are your thoughts on her taking to the Supreme Court? And then,
Oh yeah, definitely. It sounds like she needs a better hobby than graphic or whatever design she thinks she does.
okay, yeah,
She got a
exactly.
title? Oh no.
Yeah, ugh, yeah, exactly. But so happy for that Pedro is speaking up. Love this. Okay, staying in entertainment news, we all know Dylan Mulvaney. She's the TikTok star, trans advocate, where she proudly drinks Bud Light. And if you remember back in April, Bud Light sent her a can with her picture on it, in which she posted, "Thank you, Bud Light." You all remember that story, right? Well, she got so
Yes.
much backlash from anti-trans people around the country, including a lot of right-wing celebrities. There were so many of them, Kodi. I remember we were talking about them on many
Kid
of the shows.
Rock.
Kid
Yeah.
Rock was shooting a gun at the cans, and it's been this huge backlash towards them. Well, she really took a break from all of this and hasn't really talked about this. I can understand after hearing what she said, and she finally came back. And essentially, she's saying that she has gotten so much hate for something that she was aligning with Bud Light, and she's had people follow her.
Oh my
She's had
goodness.
people threatening messages. She's really hunkered down in her home. She says, "I know I'm a person of privilege, so please don't feel sorry for me. I know I am not, this is a bigger issue than just what I was going through." So that's not why she was really coming forward. She just took a break from all of this. She never thought that when she posted that original message that it would just become this horrible thing, and she thought it would blow over. Well, it hasn't. And one of the things she was saying in her message, that Bud Light never even stood by her, even when all this was going down. She never heard
That's
a
so
peep
sad.
from them, and they were the ones that originally reached out to her. And for them to see all this backlash and then to be silent in all of this, not one reach out, "How you doing?" anything. That's one of her biggest things that she wanted to share. It's like, nobody's saying anything to her, and she's on her own. And this is what could look like when big companies partner up and they don't have they don't really know what they're doing. So she really wants people to go to her TikTok and don't donate to anything she's doing, but to donate to a legal, I believe it's like a Lambda fund that you could donate to for people like trans people that are in need of legal services that
Mhm.
really need this kind of support. But I don't know, Jeremy, when you saw this, I know you know a lot of Bud Light drinkers in your parts of the country. What were your thoughts and how she's experienced all this?
I just thought it was shitty, and I really think that they should have been able to uh, just put a message out there to like make her safer. And I just feel like she's getting death threats and stuff like that, all because of their ad that they asked her to do with their beer, and it just turned out to be really negative for her. And I really kind of shocked that on their end they didn't have anything to say to it.
Mhm.
Yeah, right. She's alone on an island over there. Kodi, when you heard this and you knew the story because we reported on it when it first came out, what did you
Yeah.
think?
Oh, wow. I actually saw her live, or maybe it was a recap of
Oh,
her live that she did, and it was really heartfelt. She was almost in tears, really, and she said that she only received one can with her face on it. So I don't understand. She didn't understand why people were destroying Bud Light cans and things of that nature, because it was something that was singular, and she only had one. And I feel like when companies don't really look out for, they try to ride the fence and please everybody, they end up losing 100% of their customer base, because we saw this with Target. They got rid of the right wingers, made a hubbub about all the pride stuff that was there in Target, and they lost them. And then they removed it and they lost us as people. So these companies really need to take a stand and start supporting people that are going to support them. And that's us, damn it. Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's just another example of this disturbing rise we keep seeing of anti-queer, anti-gay rhetoric that is just pervasive. And you're right, Kodi. It was one can. And the thing she said at the end of the video that I saw was she wanted to hide it when she's kind of been in hiding, and she can't find it now. She doesn't know where she put it. But as soon as she finds it, she feels like she wants to donate it to some museum with a anti-bullet glass enclosed case around it so nobody could get to it, because this is now a piece of history of what happened when a company sent a trans TikTok influencer a can with their face on it, and look what happened. And it's like, that's a valuable can that needs to be in a museum. So I hope she finds it. I hope she's safe. And go to Dylan Mulvaney's TikTok and look for that link, or Instagram account actually, where she has a link to where you can find out more about donating to a worthy cause of protecting transgender people. Okay, well, there's a recent trend of, if you go to concerts, and as we talk about on this show, everybody and their grandmother, whoever had a single, is in concert this year. It's just crazy. I love it because I love music, and I've been going to as many concerts as I can. But there's this recent trend of people throwing things up at their favorite artists on stage, and it's become a little bit dangerous. So there's an artist by the name of BB Rexha that they got backstage and they threw a cell phone at her, and it hit her in the eye. She fell to the ground, had to go to the hospital, stopped the show. And it was serious. Like, she almost lost an eye over this. Somebody else, there's another artist that somebody else threw something at too. I'm trying to find that name, but the recent one that I want to talk about is our Lil Nas X, who we adore. He's been performing he was performing at Lollapalooza Stockholm. He's been doing a lot of LGBTQ plus pride celebrations in Europe. And he had an object thrown at him on stage, but this time it was a little bit funnier. He was in the middle of singing Down Suf Hose. Did I say that right, Kodi?
Say one more time.
Down Suf Hose.
Sounds right to me.
Okay, yeah. When an object flew onto stage next to him, forcing him to dodge it. Well, as the music stopped, you can see in the video Lil Nas dressed in blue fur boots and a blue loincloth. Love the loincloth, as I've been rocking mine, with a bull's skull on it. He picked up what was a sex toy, looked at it with a grin, and then asked the audience, "Who put that pussy on stage?" It was one of those things that sucks your dick that looks like a pussy. And he had fun with it, but it's been this last trend. Kelsey Ballerini was hit in the face with a bracelet that a fan threw at her in the middle of her concert in June. We talked about BB Rexha. What's with this trend of throwing things at people? I think, Jeremy, in this case of Lil Nas X, it was a toy. He didn't throw it at him, but, you and I have seen J-Lo. Could you imagine in the middle of one of her routines in Vegas when we saw her, if somebody threw something at her? That would be distracting at the very least.
Of course, and they'd totally escort them out. But I don't understand why you'd pay money to go see someone and then throw shit at them. It just doesn't make any sense. Concerts are not made so that you can harm the artist or to throw anything at them. Just stay in your fucking seat and watch the show.
Thank you. Well stated. Because if this trend can't keep happening, because if it does, remember when you were back in school, Cody, and they
Yeah,
said when one
long
person
time
did
ago.
one thing and then everybody had to pay for it in class, and because of
Ooh.
Billy, now we all don't get to go to recess, or we get 10 minutes cut out of our recess. Do I have childhood issues? Yes. That are still haunt me today. But what do you think about throwing things, even if it is a sex toy, on stage?
Wow. Well, I think people have been throwing stuff for a long, long, long time. It started out with I think panties and things of that nature, softer things. And I think it should probably return to softer things like teddy bears, things like that. No more cell phones, no more sex toys, because that stuff can be damaging. And pretty soon, these artists are going to take the necessary precautions to protect themselves. And I think you were talking about Ava Max, who I looked it up, and she got slapped at her Los Angeles show. Somebody came up on stage and slapped her. So people,
Oh,
this it's taking a dramatic turn, and people are going to start doing the things. Maybe they'll, I don't know, hire more security, have a protective glass. I don't know what the answer is, but I know that things are going to, if things keep escalating, they're going to actually start taking the precautions to protect themselves. And we want to have, you know, that feeling of that I can touch Beyonce. That's what I want, that feeling.
yeah, concert goers can be crazy. I'm one of them, but not that crazy. And who's throwing their phone? I mean, you need that phone. Who's throwing? I'm not going to throw away any of my jewelry, and they make more money than I do. I'm not giving away my
Right?
jewelry. And next thing, it's like, you're right. I mean, panties, underwear back in the day, I'm sure they threw them at Elvis. That's a lot of fun and cheeky. And I think let's go back to those kinds of things, perhaps.
Yeah.
I was seeing this classic. Many of you listeners may know Jose Feliciano. He's one of the
Yeah.
original singers, guitarist out of Puerto Rico. He was amazing. We took my mom, and he was he was very funny too. He had these kind of dad grandpa jokes in between sets, but they were
Mhm.
hilarious. He's like in his late 70s. He's blind, by the way, and has been
Is
for,
he?
yeah, and he's so talented, so funny. And he was blowing his nose a couple times, and he made a whole joke about with somebody. He's like, I'm not blowing it because of what you did in the audience with the white powder over there, and we were like, oh my god, he did not just go there, but he had this assistant grab, the Kleenex because he couldn't throw it away himself, and this woman in the audience wanted it. His snot-nosed rag, she wanted it, and the security guy, gave it to her. We were so grossed out by that. He blew his nose a
Wow.
second time, and she wanted that too. I mean, that's the other extreme of
Ew.
it. Is like, I I love Madonna, but I don't want her snot-nosed rag or any of that stuff. I mean,
I'll
yes, but
cross
we
that
do
off of
want
my
Madonna to get
list.
better. What's that?
I'll cross that off of my list to get for you. I was going to get you that, but now I'm not going to get
Please,
it for you
no.
anymore.
What we want is Madonna to get better so that she can go on her celebration tour. And I've been meaning to say that. So please get better, Madonna. Okay, well, Pornhub we reported on it before that in Utah, you can't get onto it, and it's not because of what's going on. Utah didn't do it. Pornhub actually blocked it. Well, now Virginia is added to the list that of because we reported on. Pornhub was recently sold to Ethical Capital Partners, and they've been blocking certain cities that have put an age restriction when you go onto their site. So Utah was the first, now it's Virginia. What Pornhub is essentially saying is that the they don't want it being left up to they want it being left up to the apps to actually determine, like, when you download these things like Google Play or Apple, not for you to do it on your end. So their go-to now is to block it themselves. Pornhub is doing this because they don't want that age restriction on there, and they want the
Mhm.
responsibility, like I said, handed to the bigwigs that should be handling this. And I kind of
Mhm.
agree with that. Now, if you go there, you'll just get a message by a porn star, a female porn star, that essentially gives you the Sherry DeVille, And she reads a whole message. I think I read it before, but essentially she's saying, while safety and compliance are at the forefront of our mission, giving your ID card every time you want to visit an adult platform is not the most effective solution for protecting our users. And in fact, it will actually put children and your privacy at risk. This is their viewpoint over at Pornhub. The one funny thing that I read about was a commenter where I got this said, "Hey, Virginia and Utah, VPNs exist, and you're not the Chinese Communist Party. You ain't blocking shit," which I kind of think is sort of true too. And as we were in Mexico recently and we got a VPN so that we could watch our favorite shows on some of the other platforms that you can't get currently in where we're staying in Mexico. But I mean, Jeremy, do you think that them doing this age restriction, Pornhub enacting this, that it's really going to stop people from getting their porn? Do you think they're going to make any headway with this?
I don't think so. It doesn't sound secure enough. And it also just, with the way that social media works and so many other apps and streaming networks, I just think that it's not going to block it out from being able to be seen or found from any age.
Yeah, and we've talked a lot on this show before where I didn't get porn until my teenage years and got it on video. You've talked before several times about sneaking in, stealing or taking, I think, somebody's DVD, was it?
I think
and
it's
then
a
being
VHS.
able well, I had VHS. I think Jeremy had DVD.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
And then getting it on the computer. I don't feel like you have an unhealthy relationship with porn, do you?
No.
Yeah. And so I think, yes, I do think maybe there's, Kodi, as you stated on a recent episode, it really should be up to the parenting.
Oh yeah, 100%. I actually was on Google just the other day, and I was looking up something that maybe that not safe for work, even though I was at work. And Google actually has a filter that doesn't allow you to see any not safe for work type material. I think that is a good first step. But like you said, I think it's really the only way that we're really going to see any changes in the household, because it's become so you can't really administer all of these and make sure that it's being disseminated in the proper fashion and on a larger scale. It's only in the household. The parents need to take more responsibility, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I liked where Pornhub's stance was on all this. I don't think them blocking it on their end is they continue to probably do this because of age verification and the culture that we're currently in. That's probably going to continue in conservative states. I don't think that them blocking this is really going to have an impact. I really don't, to be honest. And I think in the end, we really need, they really want, they should encourage people to write into their government and Senate to address this on a larger scale, on putting more pressure on the bigwig, the apps when you download them, and shifting the focus, because I don't think that this is going to get very far. And we're probably going to hear more states that Pornhub is going to choose to block. And I don't think it's going to get anywhere. I don't know. That's my opinion. But we have to talk about this juicier study that came out that I think is fun. When on a first date, they polled a bunch of people and they asked the question, how long does it take most people to decide on a second date? So essentially, you're on this first date and they asked a series of people, when you're on this first date, about when do you know that you either want to or don't want to go on a second date with somebody? I'll tell you a second what the answer was, the average. But Jeremy, when you're on your first date, how long does it take you to know when you'd want to go on a second date? About?
I kind of think it's early on, usually by the conversation and just the vibe overall. So I would say like within the first maybe half an hour of hanging out with the person, and also dependent on the setting, like if it's at a coffee shop or a restaurant, seeing the way that they act out in that specific setting is also something interesting that is kind of like, in my opinion, telltale signs of if you want to hang out with them again, or if you think that will be the first and last time.
So now you're getting into more of the study, which I'll read in a second. But you were pretty close. Okay, Kodi, how long in your first dates or with Joe did you know that okay, I want a second date, or did you just go home and sleep with him?
Probably all of the above. No.
Answer C.
I could not agree more with Jeremy. It was in the first 15 to 20 minutes. And I feel like that is pretty consistent with all of my dating in its entirety. I knew within the first 15 minutes to half an hour. So yeah, I would go with that.
You know what? Okay, so the answer is 20 minutes. So you guys were pretty close. You got 15 to 20, 30. I think you were being generous, Jeremy. But yeah, but I think you're right. And, since doing this show with timing, when we're producing the show, I know, Kodi, you helped me a lot on the Wednesday show, and 5 minutes is quite a long time. When we were doing our TV pilot, getting 5 minutes of a stand-up bit felt like an eternity. When you work in that kind of production mode, you realize how long a minute can really be. And so you can determine a lot in 20 minutes, right? Well, some of the things that also helped people decide if they wanted that second date were things like good manners. So, you're at a restaurant, or Jeremy, you said a cafe, you're going to be looking at how are they treating the staff here or the wait staff? Did they snap back? Did they demand? Did they wave their hand in a rude manner?
Those are all like totally things that I don't care if I'm like so into them. If they're in a restaurant setting and they're like rude or they complain, I'm usually like automatically turned off. I actually have a few friends that do complain a lot and it's annoying. And so it's just like totally for me on a date type of thing, I would be turned off like automatically.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. And the next thing was conversational skills, right? And so you have to be a good listener, but you have to be interested in what they have to say. But I also feel like you have to be interesting.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, any of those things resonate with you, Kodi?
Oh, for sure. I think that when you're vibing with somebody, and if you don't have anything as your basis that you have in common, if the person doesn't have anything to offer to the conversation, or they have too much to offer to the conversation and they don't ask about you, then those are all red flags as far as dating is concerned.
Love it. And here's on the same study, the things that pretty much will end a relationship. I'll just read you some of the list and we'll discuss. Clingy, being too clingy, overuse of social media, poor hygiene. Let's talk about those three. The clingy one is interesting because I have a girlfriend, and she's been dating this guy for about 5 weeks. He made it known early on that he's interested in having a long-term relationship. She's open to it. They really had the same interests, both outdoor people, both get up early, both love hiking and, things of that nature, outdoor stuff. And so things were looking good, but I think he was becoming a little too clingy, and she had to break it off over the weekend because it was just becoming too much. And I agree, you can ruin things if it sounds like you want somebody to be into you and treat you like the king or the queen that you are, but I think that's a little overrated sometimes. What do you guys think?
Jeremy, you want to start or...
You go first.
Okay.
I'm interested to see what you say.
I'm so scared to go. That's why I want you to go first. Okay. How do you define clingy? Because I feel like I am a little bit clingy, and I feel like in my relationship, we're both a little bit clingy, and that works for us. Does that make sense?
It does, but were you clingy in the first 5 weeks of dating? Because that's that sweet spot. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I feel like we knew that we could not get enough of each other, and I feel like we knew that we wanted to see a lot of each other, even though we weren't quick to call ourselves boyfriends, but we knew that we wanted to see a lot of each other and that we didn't want to necessarily be apart a lot. And I think that's normal in the beginning of a relationship.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, what are your thoughts, Jeremy?
I don't really love clingy, to be honest, and I uh, sometimes like space, especially at the beginning. But there is also a side of me that is jealous at the same time. So I feel like when someone's clingy towards me, I don't mind it, but I'm not usually reciprocative of being just as clingy, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I'm more aligned with you. I think where I do think when I was probably younger, I probably was more clingy, and we have to make this work. The moment there was,
Yeah.
a second date, and I think now I would love to find somebody that I would spend time with, but I also want to reflect on it too, and maybe too clinginess can produce a little bit of anxiety in some of us. Okay, I'm talking about myself. And that anxiety and that pressure that this, they're getting a little bit too much too soon, and the red flags are coming out, and there's a parade happening, and I don't want that. And so it can turn people off. But I think in your case, Kodi, it worked, and you aligned with the right person. So,
Yeah. I think
yeah.
that's what it's all about. It's about finding somebody who is comfortable with your balance as far as in the clinginess, quote unquote, is concerned, because if you got to find somebody that reflects you in that respect, I feel.
Absolutely. Some of the other things that ended the relationship were poor hygiene, which I feel like if it's a relationship, you'd know that early on. This one's interesting. Lack of or differing of sense of humor. That's a biggie because no sense of humor, I would be absolutely not, and probably know that early on to not even get in a relationship if someone's too serious. And I know personally for myself over the years, I've done a lot of work on myself where I used to be, if you talk to a lot of my long-standing friends, very sensitive to everything from teasing to all kinds of things, or chip on my shoulder type of thing that I've worked through, where now I don't really let a lot of things bother me at all. And you can joke with me and I just let it roll and have a good time with it. Life is so much easier. So what are your guys' thoughts on sense of humor? Joe's pretty serious, Kodi, at times, but he's adorable.
Yeah, he doesn't think I'm funny at all.
Oh my God. I think you're hilarious.
Thank you. I was gonna say that, but I feel like I'm pretty funny. I joke around a lot, so I feel like we're still finding our balance and footing as far as my sense of humor is concerned. Because I feel like I can sometimes go a little bit too far as joking is concerned. And I need to be a little bit more sensitive to people when they are, feeling insecure about certain things. I think that picking on people is not okay. So, yeah. And I think that if the more familiar I am with somebody, then the more apt I am to go, a light ribbing. It never hurts a little bit.
Yeah, stop kicking people when they're down, Kodi.
I know.
I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding. You're not. You don't do
doing
that.
all the things wrong.
You don't do that at all. I mean, no one's saying, Jeremy, that somebody has to be a comedian by any means. But do you look for a sense of humor, or not even sense of humor, but just seeing the lighter side of things?
Yeah, definitely. I think anyone that takes themselves too seriously is just kind of boring to me, and I would not be able to date. I like people that can laugh at themselves and also just be lighthearted and not exactly have to have the same sense of humor, but find humor in similar things.
Yes, right. The bizarrety, or that's not a word, but of life,
Absurdity.
the absurdity of
Yes.
life, right? That can often present itself to you, and
Yes.
finding the humor in it and laughing at it. And so, yeah. So, okay. Well, staying sort of on topic, there was a recent thread that became pretty viral on Reddit asking the question, what sexy behaviors get you out of the mood immediately? Kind of interesting. It was asked, guys, what do other gays do that they think is sexy that just isn't? Well, it attracted over 500 comments so far, and users listed Femphobic and transphobic behaviors, for example, are objectively reprehensible. Others are matters of taste, such as opinions about cosmetic options, underwear types, and get this, twerking. Assuming, thinking that one person wrote, anybody that thinks men twerking is such a turnoff. Their opinion, I don't know if that's like my favorite thing or not to see on somebody, but I mean, do you, right? Let me just read you a couple of them and you can tell me if you agree with some of these. Sending zoomed in whole pics way too soon. Okay, I kind of agree with that one. Assuming whether I'm a top or bottom purely based off the facts I'm trans and the constant dick spam, I want to get to know you a little first. Calm down. Obviously, assuming you're a top or a bottom based off of your behavior. What else? Talking in this weird moany voice. I think I understand what that means. Toilet dick pics. Filthy bathroom mirror selfies. We both know how you both feel on that one.
Big no.
Looking angry in pictures. It's a profile pic, not a mugshot. Yeah, you know what? Let's just stop there and talk about some of these. Mine, I'm always smiling in mine. Maybe I should be a little bit more smoldering. I don't know. but but the one that is kind of a turn off that I want it to go away. You know, there's always trends in LGBTQ, seasons on fashion. And remember that trend where everybody was sticking their tongue out to the side in every single picture? I did it a couple times. I'm sure if you scrolled through some of my old pics, you'll see one of those. But I don't like to see it anymore. I think it's like, passe. Is that me being weird, Jeremy? Or what's some of your
Yeah, I don't mind the tongue photos at all. But I definitely think that some of them, like we said, they do come and go. And I mean, I don't love the close-up hole photos and the toilet dick pics and the selfies with a filthy mirror. I don't mind the serious mugshot type of face, but I do think that some people take it too serious. But I don't think you always have to smile when you're trying to be sexy.
I don't either. I mean, some of the other ones, Kodi, using the descriptor "boosie" or any other variation describing your ass as a vagina. I mean, that's just current talk, I think.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be up in arms in that, I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
I think bussy is fine. I think pussy is taking it just a little bit too far. Man pussy, because you don't have a vagina. Yeah, that's just me being practical about it, or maybe thinking about it too logically. I think that man pussy, and I'm not even really trying to be all broy about it. I just am being how I feel is logical about it. But I agree with Jeremy on the whole the pictures in the dirty bathroom, the up close, those really get on my nerves. The up close whole pictures, I could not stand those. I like a nice side profile. I like to see the meaty, juicy booty, and the whole is just it's there. It's beautiful, but I don't want to see a close up picture of it.
Yeah, I don't even know how I would take that pic, and I would be a fumbling idiot trying to do
get somebody to take it for you.
Okay, and then they're probably wondering who took that pic, and yeah, I don't know. I kind of agree with you on that. Staying on topic, this last Reddit thread that I wanted to run by you. So, dirty talk is how they labeled it. Sexting, not into it, is what they wrote. I've been talking to this guy. We met socially and began texting through Grindr and switched to texting. I find him attractive, but I find his sexting and dirty talk a bit overwhelming. I'm not a prude, but I feel a lot of anxiety about living up to his dirty talk. I enjoy sex and think I'm pretty good, but I'm not a porn star. I don't know the polite way to tell him it's a bit too much for me. Any ideas? This is an interesting one because I think I can relate to this Redditor in many ways when I do, and many of you know, don't always go onto the apps. But when I do, I can get in a rabbit hole with somebody and we're going and they're getting juicier and juicier about what they want me to do and this and that. And I find it anxiety. It gives a lot of anxiety because I want to live up to this hype and keep the conversation going in that way. But I kind of feel for them too, because if they're just trying to get to know somebody, you don't want to ruin it and be like, oh, you're being too sexy, Jeremy. But what advice would you give? Or should he just move on?
I mean, I feel like there are ways for you to change the subject or just like make it a little bit less sexual by bringing up other topics or something else that you're interested in, maybe about him, and kind of trick him that way into having other conversations. But obviously, if that doesn't work, then you might, I don't know, it doesn't sound like the cards are in it for this duo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, Kodi, because he said they met socially, so out and about. Who knows how exactly, through friends or at a bar? I don't know. But then they were texting through Grinder, which I could see if they started then texting on Grinder, it could be dirty talk, right? They switched to texting. I think he really needs to find out if they're going to go on a date or not, or sleep together sooner than later. And if it's, sex, great, let's just do it. Like, I would just say, let's get off of this app, let's meet up, let's do it. Or if he's interested, find out, are you interested in going on a date? And if that's the case, then we all have the ability to try and redirect, and he should redirect the conversation to getting to know each other. And I don't know, what do you think?
Yeah, I hear that. I hear what you're saying. I'm really curious as far as, are they having regular conversations as well, things that aren't sexual in nature? Because if they are only sexting and that's it, that could be this guy's kink. It's sexting could totally be a kink for somebody, and if that makes this person, the writer into the Redditor, uncomfortable, he should probably say something about it and then maybe move on from there and say, I agree with you. Maybe we should go on a date. Maybe I would like to take this to the next level, things of that nature. Because if you don't say what you want in life, then how are you ever going to get fed?
Ooh, good advice. I like that. Oh my goodness. Thank you guys so much for playing on that. Reminder, we always offer sex and relationship advice to you. You can DM us on all of our personal Instagram accounts and we will get to it. I'll give those in a second. You could also go to the website, TAGSPodcast.com, and contact us via that route. We love to help you guys out. Let us know. Quick programming note, this Wednesday, we have Zachary Zane, who just wrote a new book called Boy Slut. I'm reading it feverishly. It's really good and juicy. Memoir. He will be on the show talking about bisexuality and more. Check in that's Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Go to the website, Tags Podcast, to get the direct link to Tags Live. Okay, well, you can always follow my co-host. Follow Jeremy at J. Ross Lopez on Instagram. Follow Kodi, he's a life coach, at KMD Coaching, or his personal account, which is juicier, at Mr. Maurice. And follow me, I am _Steve V. Guys, thanks so much for weighing in on all this stuff. Love it.
Always fun.
Yes. And in the meantime, continue having hot, gay sex.